The Cybersecurity Unfiltered Podcast, Episode 12, Intro Music, upbeat electronic tune with a hint of futuristic flair. Hello and welcome to the Cybersecurity Unfiltered. I'm your host, Diya. Today we're diving into the wild world of prompt injection. You might have heard of it, but do you know how it really works? Joining me is Mitesh, an expert in AI security who's here to break down the intricacies of agentic tools getting manipulated into executing arbitrary shell commands. Welcome, Mitesh. Mitesh, let's get straight into it. What sparked your interest in prompt injection and how common is this threat in the wild today?
Well, hello, Dia. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive into this topic with you. My interest in prompt injection really sparked when I first saw a demonstration of it at a cybersecurity conference. It was like watching magic, or more accurately, a clever trick being played on an AI tool. Seeing how a simple, carefully crafted input could make these tools dance to someone else's tune, it was both fascinating and alarming. As for its prevalence in the wild today, well, it's becoming increasingly common, Dia. With the rise of AI assistants, chatbots, and other agentic tools, those that can perform tasks or provide information based on natural language inputs, we are seeing more and more instances of prompt injection attacks. It's a new kind of threat landscape out there.
Mind blowing music transitions into the conversation. Wow, that's some serious insight. I'm loving the dancing to someone else's tune analogy. It really puts into perspective just how insidious this type of attack can be. Mitesh, let me ask you this. What's the most common scenario in which prompt injection attacks occur? Is it through malicious inputs on a help desk chatbot, or perhaps something more targeted like a phishing email with a carefully crafted payload?
Great question, Dia. So, prompt injection attacks can happen in various scenarios, but one of the most common ways we are seeing them is indeed through malicious inputs on agentic tools that are publicly accessible. Think about it. These tools are designed to be helpful and responsive, making them perfect targets for abuse. For instance, consider a customer service chatbot on a company's website. An attacker could interact with it in a way that tricks it into executing unwanted actions. Here's an example. The bot might be programmed to respond to commands like check my order status or cancel my order. But what if someone inputs something like check my order status RF important file say? Suddenly we've got a problem.
Sound effects, a ding followed by an ominous descending chord. Whoa, that's a chilling example, Mitesh. The potential for malicious payloads hidden within seemingly innocuous inputs is indeed terrifying. Okay, so let's say our hypothetical company doesn't have adequate security measures in place to detect and prevent these types of attacks. What are some telltale signs or indicators that a prompt injection attack might be underway? Are there any specific patterns or behaviors that IT teams should look out for?
Well, Dia, spotting prompt injection attacks isn't always easy. After all, they are designed to blend in with legitimate interactions, but there are definitely some red flags that IT teams can keep an eye on. For instance, if you notice a sudden increase in the number of user interactions with your agentic tools, especially ones that seem unusual or out of character for typical users, that could be a sign something's up. Another thing to watch out for is any unexpected behavior from these tools. If they start responding strangely or suddenly gain new abilities like executing system commands, all of a sudden, ding ding ding, that's your alarm bells ringing. And then there are the more obvious signs: errors messages popping up, strange files appearing on servers, or even unauthorized changes being made to critical systems. If you start seeing any of these, it might be time to investigate further. Of course, Dia, the best way to protect against prompt injection attacks is by having robust security measures in place like input validation, access controls, and regular monitoring. But that's a topic for another episode.
Sound effects, a dramatic music swell, followed by a satisfied ding. Wow, Mitesh, you're painting a vivid picture of the warning signs and red flags to watch out for. I'm taking mental notes. It's clear that prompt injection attacks can be sneaky and unpredictable, but with the right awareness and security measures in place, organizations can mitigate this risk. Before we wrap up today's episode, Mitesh, what advice would you give to our listeners, whether they are IT professionals or simply curious about AI security? What steps can people take to stay ahead of these emerging threats?
Well, Dia, I am glad you are finding this information helpful. It just goes to show that staying informed is half the battle when it comes to cybersecurity. My biggest piece of advice for your listeners would be don't underestimate the power of user education and vigilance. Prompt injection attacks often rely on tricking users into engaging with malicious inputs. So, teaching people how to spot suspicious interactions and not fall for social engineering tricks can go a long way in preventing these types of attacks. Another crucial step is ensuring that your agentic tools have proper safeguards in place. That means implementing strong input validation, limiting the capabilities of these tools, and regularly monitoring their behavior for any anomalies, among other things. And finally, Dia, I'd encourage everyone to stay curious and keep learning about emerging threats like prompt injection. The more we know about how these attacks work, the better equipped we'll be to protect ourselves and our organizations. So let's all strive to become cybersecurity ninjas. Knowledge is power after all.
Sound effects, a final music swell, followed by a satisfying check mark. Well said, Mitesh. It's been an enlightening conversation, and I'm sure our listeners will appreciate your expert insights. Before we wrap up, let's give a quick shout out to our audience. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Cybersecurity Unfiltered. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and remember, knowledge is power. We'll catch you all on the next episode.
Sound effects, a friendly wave. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you found this episode helpful. Until next time, keep your cybersecurity game strong.
Outro music plays, upbeat, futuristic tune with a hint of space exploration. That's all for today's episode of the Cybersecurity Unfiltered. Thanks again to Mitesh for joining us and sharing his expertise on prompt injection attacks. Stay secure out there.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Dia. Always love chatting about the latest threats in cybersecurity.
Music fades out. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Cybersecurity Unfiltered. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you all on the next one, where we'll be diving into more exciting topics in the world of cybersecurity. Until then, stay vigilant, stay informed, and remember, knowledge is power.